And we are back, episode 215. Adir, welcome.
Hello.
Our last episode in person till I bid farewell for a different country for a few weeks.
It'll be nice.
Should be nice. I'm visiting our London team. I'll visit our Barcelona team. I'll visit our Africa. I'm going for safari, but should be fun.
Africa will be nice. I mostly care about weather. Although in Africa, I suspect the weather will be hot.
No, it's winter.
Oh,
that's right.
South Africa. Yeah, okay, I see.
Oh, I'm sure it's hot in like Egypt.
Yeah,
But you see the weather in London? London's like 36 this week, which is not pleasant.
That's terrible.
It's like 50.
There's some El Nino or something going on.
Yeah, it's back. They
say
El Nino's back.
Is that the one?
Yeah, I think around the world it's back.
I see. Well, it's very nice weather in Melbourne.
It's been great.
Shockingly
It's finally
nice.
got cold this week, but last week it was 20, which is pretty unheard of for June.
I'm going to say something very earnest to start this podcast, which is, so we won't go into the dead hell of this, but there was something that happened last week. I didn't feel, no, you know what this is because you're on the chat. I didn't feel great about it. And so
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, after a small amount of time interacting with me, I think people tend to work out there's a bit of an emotional overhead in interacting with me. And so I was feeling like very unhappy about something and not great about myself. And I posted it on the chat with you, Mike, and Will.
Yeah.
And what came back was like the nicest emotion that I'd ever had on a chat. Everyone was so supportive and so nice.
I just clarify, I wasn't very supportive. That was mostly
You were very supportive.
I thought it was Mike who was supportive.
I said, this is the most supportive
Mike was
chat.
like Florence Nightingale in that thread.
Well, Mike is very supportive in general, I think. But the thing is, and I said to you, this is the
I say well clear that supportive shit.
No, you didn't. Now you talk a big game because we're recording. You know, this is the thing. This is what I wanted to say. Firstly, what I say is, I said, this is the nicest chat I've ever been a part of. And you said, this is the exact opposite of every other chat I'm on WhatsApp. And then I thought, people that know Will would guess Will is very supportive. People that hear Mike, it's obvious Mike is going to be supportive, genuine millennial. Yeah. And it's obvious he's going to be supportive. But people might not realise.
Are you sure we're supportive?
I don't want to go into the detail.
I don't recall being
People
supportive.
might not realise because you can be. Because you enjoy people throwing rocks at you, basically. People might not realise how supportive of a friend you are, but now I can communicate that and make you feel you're not great with emotion, so I can make you feel very uncomfortable on this podcast, and I'll let you off the hook though and say, and that will segue me into, so LinkedIn. That is a crazy platform.
Yeah.
So it used to be
becoming Twitter, right?
Oh, God. So you know this bit of this thing. Well, we're not going to mention people's names because I feel like sometimes it's unfair we have a bit of a megaphone with this podcast and other people don't. And so I try to avoid...
Punch up, not punch down.
Exactly. And really, maybe I'd say I don't really want to punch at all, but like...
With your bias, if you punch them,
you got to do what you got to do, right? So anyway, I had this weird experience where... I'll say the nice bit first. At the end of the week, after a week that I felt like was a pretty hostile week in Australian business and politics, there was a lot of aggro, wasn't there?
It's kind of a normal week, to be honest.
It was crazy. Anyway, and so I go on and I find there's this beautiful clip that is from an old Dave Letterman show where he interviews Howard Stern. It's old. And they basically do have this thing where for the first 22 minutes, for the first half it's funny, and then all of a sudden... It's like they have this moment where the whole audience and the cameras disappear and they're just having this conversation between the two of them on a sofa. And it was like, it's so honest and open. And I thought, this will be a nice thing to post at the end of the week. Because, I like the comedy is like the highest ideal for me. And so I'm going to post this thing and make people feel good at the end of the week. Usually when I post something, you get way more, I don't know what it's called, distribution or reach than I do. But even when I post something, it will have some hundreds of responses to it, reactions, and maybe 10, 20,000 reach.
Like Rage Bait obviously gets a lot more posts, but
well,
this
is
normal
the thing.
Doesn't really
so I post this, and I'm used to getting, let's say, 20,000 of like whatever LinkedIn calls reach, right? Yeah, whatever that means, right? Yeah. Basically, 4 people like this thing, and it got no reach. Okay. And the LinkedIn, I
saw it.
All right, well, you didn't like it.
No.
The LinkedIn algorithm...
It didn't actually, some ways I couldn't watch it. Anyway, there was a reason why I didn't like it.
Well, the LinkedIn algorithm, I think it takes one look at stuff like that and thinks this is not going to drive tons of engagement.
I think video... Does video tend to get good reach on
Well,
LinkedIn?
I did a link in the comments because a long time ago someone said to me, you can't put links into the actual
I think it punches
posts.
you either way now.
But yeah, like basically, unless you... Do you think that LinkedIn reads the posts now before it allows them
there's
to
probably
be
some
posted
sort of
or
algorithm.
not? Yes.
Yeah.
And so then on the flip side, I found that very disappointing.
I think unless you get a couple of comments quickly in the first 100 impressions, and then you start getting likes, it just doesn't give you any
It
reach.
could be. And then I posted something which was much more typical of like what's
Rage
going
bait.
on at the moment. And that went bananas. And you would have seen some of the comments I got, which were not very nice. I think people think, like my public profile is 1%, let's call it.
Yeah.
And I think people that look at someone that has a public profile of even that percentage, they forget that they've got human emotions and like people just write nasty stuff.
I used to on Twitter used to block people all the time because so many crazy right and left wing people on there. But I've actually found out to start blocking people on LinkedIn now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I probably blocked 20 people on LinkedIn. That means they just can't see your post, they can't comment, you blow the
Because
post away. I don't mind somebody. There's a guy, an ex-Labor guy called Ken McAuliffe who we have regular jousts with. I didn't block him because because he's a senior lobbyist and he's obviously a senior Labor guy. I don't mind jousting with a guy like that who's a smart guy. We may very much differ on our views, but it's generally respectful in a often funny way. But then you got these, I just call them flogs, who use LinkedIn like Twitter and think that we're just going to leave them on there. Like if you're going to be a flog, you just get blown away.
And they abuse you personally.
Yeah.
Now you probably take that better than I do. I'm getting better at it, right? But like I generally don't take that
Certain
so well.
abuse. Sometimes I'll just block. I won't even get engaged. I'll just block unless the person is substance.
But you never feel badly as a person about someone you don't know abusing you on
Not really,
LinkedIn.
no.
Am I right in saying
No.
that? Do you? Would you feel bad about that, Mike?
Yeah, of course.
So I feel listen, if someone I have had an interaction with writes personally mean stuff to me on LinkedIn, I find that quite hurtful,
different if
to
you
be
know.
honest.
If I knew someone, it'd be very different.
So I find that
random.
quite. So that's kind of what happened. I found that quite hurtful. But like, even if random people that I don't know, like, because they're identified on LinkedIn, that used to stop people. I used to think that
exactly. Because your job's on there.
That's right. I used to think anonymity was Twitter's problem,
Yeah.
but I've come down to the view that the main problem with social media is human beings using it.
Anonymity is worse, clearly.
Definitely
Twitter's
it's
the
worse.
And then you got bots who aren't even real and all that kind of stuff.
And so I think, I don't want to say this, but like LinkedIn, that was the last bastion of civilized, could be emotional debate, but it was civilized debate.
Yeah.
People could get worked up, and now the level of abuse is definitely increasing.
I think you got to block people. Just when people abuse, just block. It takes 2 seconds. You go block, bang, gone.
And then you know what people do? People post these posts. I don't really block people very much,
Yeah.
but people post these posts. This guy blocked me. That's
but nobody
their
reads
post.
these losers. They got 100 followers.
I know that's true, but that's what that's what goes on.
That's happens
right?
on Twitter all the time. But like again, it's like they can do it once, but it's a real hassle to keep going on and on. And I think nobody cares about it. I was only really on Twitter for a couple of years of COVID. I used it a lot. And it was actually really effective. You'd post on Twitter and then I'd be on some news thing like an hour later.
I find that with LinkedIn now. I find that like if you post on LinkedIn and you've got more than no profile, at some point someone will pick it up and put it in an article somewhere, which I'm happy with.
The funny is because travel press is a bit unique. Like it's actually quite interesting, and they talk about travel stuff, and sometimes it isn't that much to write about. So I often find I'll write on whether it's corporate travel management or something like that, and I'll do some rando post on LinkedIn, and then the next day it's like some major article in the travel press, which is always pretty amusing.
Well, and that's you should feel good about yourself with that, because most people that are posting are not turning into articles. So that's how I always feel about this. I just say to myself, like, it's better that people care than no one cared at all about what I had to say. Even when they're like writing nasty stuff to me, I try to remind myself of that.
You see that article last week, I spoke Paddy Durkin from the AFR, who I really like. He sent me a message saying, I'm writing an article on Elbow, the CGT stuff, give me a quote. And I gave him a quote. And I was reading like the daily AFR sends like a couple of emails in the evening. I was reading, I thought, that article looks interesting. And it's like dagger to the heart of workers. Hey, wait, that was my quote. Like, it was a good result.
You don't like anything more than you like the stuff that comes out of your own mouth.
So
that
good.
is for sure.
It's the best.
You know what we haven't done for a while?
A quiz?
Yes.
There you go.
I've got something to ask you.
I haven't given you a quiz for ages, actually.
You haven't, that's because I'm hopeless at them.
That's why they're so good.
All right, so you'll like this quiz, and everyone can play. This is the kind of, because the quizzes that you play, that you came up with, they're so obscure, I don't even know where to start with those quizzes, but this is a very easy, everyone can play at home kind of quiz, okay? So this is a list. You laugh now, Mike. Let's see how you go. Let's see.
Mike's pretty good at quizzes usually.
Well, this people should be good at this quiz, okay? This is a quiz. There's this very reputable study that looks at the size of each startup ecosystem in every city and produces this very detailed report. I read the report to kind of look at cities that I knew and see whether I thought it was good. I think this is a good report. I'd love to be able to say where this is from. I've forgotten. But it's like what Startup Muster in Australia copied. It's called Startup Genome, maybe. Have you heard of that?
No.
I think it might be called Startup Genome. Anyway, it ranks cities/regions, I guess, not states.
Like in Silicon Valley, obviously.
Like so that's number one, right?
Tel Aviv, presumably.
All right. So who do you think's number two? So this is. But let me give the quick intro.
Yeah.
So this is the biggest cities for startup value in the world. Actually, the biggest cities. So number one, Silicon Valley, not a city, ironically, but a region. So number one. Number two.
Originally.
Number two. Well, everything was a town originally. You don't understand how growth works.
The challenge with this is it can be influenced by extreme values. So there could be some like
it is influence, but none of this would shock you.
Tel Aviv too?
Tel Aviv is not two, but it's in the top five. What's number two?
Mark, have a guess.
Oh, God. I'm going to sound stupid
just think
whatever
of big
I say.
cities. Just think of big cities.
New York.
Yes, number two. New York's actually number two.
I thought LA would be in New York.
So LA is number 6.
Oh, really?
So New York, but LA was, so I can see a little graph. LA was at 4 for a while.
Yeah.
And it's
There's
fallen.
lots of stuff in LA. Like
it's
some of the AI business in LA. Yeah.
And New York was equal number 2 last year with something else, and the other city fell to 3.
I don't really know how defining startups is part of the problem.
Which cities do you think are big on startups in the world?
Seoul.
Seoul is not. There is an Asian city on this list. There's a couple actually.
Tokyo?
But that Seoul is not. Tokyo is 12.
Would be
I
Shanghai.
just lied to you. Seoul is 9.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that was a great call. I wouldn't have
Yes.
guessed Seoul.
Shanghai,
Seoul is 9.
Shanghai on there?
Shanghai is on here. It's number 11. So interestingly, it's a couple of spots below Seoul,
yeah.
but we still haven't done number 3. It's not an Asian city.
Boston?
Boston's on there. Boston is number 5.
Okay.
Just below Tel Aviv.
Austin?
Austin is 19.
I
It
guess
goes to
It
20.
really depends how you define.
Well, this is a city that's much bigger than all of
London?
those cities. Yes, London is number 3. So what's interesting
I
about
think there's
this?
some definitional issues here.
All right, but if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's not that
Can
surprising.
you name many startups coming out of London? What, Revolut maybe? I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
think of many.
London is really a growing startup scene for sure. So Silicon
Can you
Valley,
name some?
obvious.
Name a couple from London. I can think of hundreds of Silicon Valley startups.
Well, yeah, I would more
I
say
can think of Revolut, that's it. And then maybe it'll be London.
it depends where you do the cutoff for startup. I think it comes down to, right? Like, so in London, so Revolut's the bank, is that right? Yep. But there's quite a few big fintechs that have come out of London.
Wise, maybe, but they're a public company now.
Yeah, and so I don't know where that fits, right?
Yeah.
I don't think London does have a lot of startup activity, but what you have is
Baffling that London's bigger than LA. Makes
well,
no
US Silicon Valley, US New York, which is Silicon Alley, that's what New York's called. Then London, okay, you're debating that. Then Tel Aviv 4. The amazing thing about Tel Aviv is it's risen from 7 to 4 over the last few years.
Yeah.
3 years, war. There's been a war in Tel Aviv.
It's incredible.
Like,
Well, it probably helps.
well, it
Well, it
doesn't.
has
'cause
helped
it's-
clearly,
well,
like-
I tell you why it doesn't help though. It doesn't help because it shouldn't
people-
help.
people at
People are in the
war.
army. Like
Yeah.
all of these founders, literally they're going to the army.
Yeah.
But foreigners are scared to invest VC money in the country, and yet it's risen to number 4 with no population.
Yeah.
So Silicon
That's
Valley
incredible.
has
Yeah.
got a pretty big population. New York
And
huge,
Stanford
London
there.
huge,
Yeah.
Tel Aviv no population,
Yeah.
Boston, Los Angeles.
Boston's obviously got MIT and Harvard to a lesser degree.
Yeah, and that's like there's a reason Catapult's in Boston, right?
Yep.
Like it's a great place. LA, I heard your comments about LA. Beijing.
Beijing.
Interesting.
This sounds ridiculous. No
it's-
way Beijing's better than Shanghai.
Well,
Or
why
Shenzhen.
not?
Like, just because
Why
it's a
not?
political capital,
Well,
not
so
the
this is what
commerce
I
capital.
suggest, and just I'm not going to round it out. But the other one that I thought was very interesting is down at number 15. It's Bengaluru Karnataka. Probably said it wrong. Indian.
At Bangalore.
But yes, exactly. And so
I'm gonna
that's
say what
an
you
Indian.
say.
What's that?
I'm going to say what you say. This list is trash.
I don't think it
actually makes no sense.
I would usually agree with you.
Put it in
about
the
this,
garbage
but you can go and download this report. It's long and it's got information about every city in a lot of detail. You should look at it and see what you
Sounds like
think
a report
about
that
it.
claims Melbourne's the most livable city. You know, that piece of junk report.
Well-
it's clearly not based on like knife crimes.
Since you didn't ask me where Melbourne and Sydney are on this report, I'll tell you. Sydney is 26 and Melbourne is 30.
Yeah, that
feels
sounds
about right.
right. Yeah.
Suddenly, so you should go and look at this report. I understand why you're critical of it because you didn't bring the quiz to the podcast.
No, I'm critical because it makes no
but-
sense. Like, I love a good quiz, regardless regardless of the source. Just I think that makes no sense.
All right. Well, I'll send you the link, and you can do something that
Like
is
Beijing better than Shanghai.
well.
Like,
You can do
ridiculous.
something that's become very unpopular in this world, and that is form opinions based around facts and data, which is no one wants to do that anymore. All right. Well, I thought that's because we'll get a better response.
Can I just,
Maybe if you would have done better, it would have gotten a better response.
I thought I did okay.
Well,
I thought I did well. I got a
You
few
did well.
of the
Sold.
He's got well done.
Mr. Career over there. Just,
This is like the podcast that now has turned into, if you want any praise, you have to give it to yourself.
I think that's been episode 1.
That's right.
Just a quick touch on, Will, I would have got Will to do it, but he's off more important things. But our fortnightly giveaway for our subscriber giveaway. So we want someone to subscribe both to the podcast, but more importantly, also subscribe to our amazing newsletter at thecontrarianspod.com. So we saw last week I wrote an article on Luke Sayers, a 2,000-word treatise. How do you say treatise? Treatise.
Well, it was 2,000 words of comedy gold, as you would call it. Yeah, it was.
It was probably the best reaction I've ever got to it. I've written
I'm
like
not
1,500
surprised
articles.
by
That's probably
that.
up there. I got messages from all and sundry. So if you haven't had a read of the Luke Sayers article, have a good read of Luke Dick Pick Sayers. It goes into the real background of pre-Dick Pick days. So Luke was a controversial character at PwC. He was fined for having alleged relationships with people, with staff. So there's a lot of stuff that hasn't really been reported much. So I essentially synthesised about 25 different articles into one. Obviously, Joe's written some amazing stuff on Luke, but this is a pretty controversial guy who was Teflon for so long, but that Teflon's really come off.
In part.
Well, I think mostly.
I think there are still people that rally around him and support him. It's
Oh,
not
there's
totally
your Dan
gone.
Andrews and your Andrew Bassett, who are his mates, but
We'll get
obviously-
Dan Andrews on the podcast. That'd be a good guest.
that'd be a coup. I don't think he'll come.
I'll send him a message.
So this fortnight's winner is Sally. So Sally, we'll reach out. $500 luxury escapes
Great
voucher.
prize.
When are you bringing your
Great
vouchers to
prize.
total? You're meant to be
Next
bringing an
couple of
Eva
weeks.
voucher, a
Next
Catapult
couple of
voucher.
weeks. All right, yeah.
What about your hundreds?
What are they gonna do with
a Daily
catapults?
Blooms voucher?
Yeah. Well, it's up to the founders. See, the thing is, you're the
Yeah, but
founder
you're-
of this business.
Yeah, but you're like the Svengali of
I've
these
got no
things.
influence. I've got no
You're like
influence.
the
No,
you're
I've
like
got
the
no
god of these
influence.
places. I'm sure if you call
I've got no influence.
Courtney at Amazing Daily Bloom, say we'll give you,
You know, Courtney, she does
incredible
not need
marketing.
anything from me. She is doing a perfectly great
I'll
job
read how to call.
running
I'm sure
that
Courtney will give
business.
us a couple $100 voucher a week as well.
You message her. You're going to have more luck with her than I am.
But Sally has won a $500 luxury escape voucher. Obviously, money can't buy. So congratulations, Sally, for being such an amazing subscriber. And we will have another winner in a couple of weeks. So jump on contrarianspod.com. I'm actually got an article coming up on SpaceX. I've almost finished it. You'll have an article if you actually bother to write one, which I'm sure will be
I
amazing.
dictate my articles. Do you dictate them
No, I
or
just
write
type
them
them.
by hand? Do you?
Old school.
I find it the thoughts flow more easily
You're like
when I
a
dictate
lawyer
them.
from the 1980s.
Or like Rene Rivkin, remember that guy? He used to dictate his...
Hope you don't end up in jail for he started trading like he did.
I mean, I think he ended up going to jail for a very small
was unlucky.
minority
That
of
was
his
pretty
crimes,
ridiculous.
right?
Yeah.
A very small minority of his crimes.
It's a very Al Capone tax
So
evasion.
he was the original guy who made a fortune out of tip sheets.
Absolutely. It was actually a great tip sheet, in fairness.
But you know how, I think I've told you before,
The
do you know how
Rivkin
he
report.
did it? He basically stood in his office in Double Bay looking out the window.
with a cigar.
Yeah, with a dictaphone. And with a little tape in a dictaphone. And he dictated for 10 minutes and then gave it to an offsider.
Yeah.
And that became the Rivkin report. It was 10 minutes or 15 minutes of
Unbelievable.
work every week.
It was great, actually. It was a great report.
Presumably every buy that he recommended, he already owned the
Of
stock
course,
in,
of course.
without a doubt.
Yeah, 'cause
Yep.
I think he had like 2 subscribers. Everybody just forwarded it on to 300 people.
Yeah,
later.
no, he made a lot of money out of that thing,
yeah,
like
no,
an astonishing amount of money.
It was the early first ever
Yeah.
subscription email business,
Back in
really.
the day when...
in the late 90s.
So there's a publication called The Intelligent Investor that's now owned by InvestSmart, a publicly listed company with Paul Clitheroe.
Yeah.
Remember Paul Clitheroe?
Money fame.
As the
Chairman.
chairman. And so I'm not sure how that thing's going, but back in the day, that Intelligent Investor, before the whole world had jumped on the Warren Buffett, Benjamin Graham bandwagon, that thing, I subscribed to it.
In fairness.
Yeah, but that was maybe 25 years ago I subscribed to it. It was like, it would be $600-700 at that
Wow.
time.
That's
And
not
like that,
cheap.
a lot of subscribers. That was a cash machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
business.
you used to be able to make a lot of money out of these things.
Yeah.
I had a nice experience.
So we are looking forward to an article from you. Potentially this week we'll get
I
one.
tried to-
Just on
I
dictaphone.
tried to dodge that.
I remember when I was
topic.
when I was a really young lawyer, people still use dictaphones. This is like call it the early 2000s. I couldn't believe people. To me, it just felt completely inefficient. People dictating letters and stuff. I thought I never dictated anything. And you had to like there was a whole skill to dictation, and then you get sent down to like the typing pool.
Yeah.
I was actually pretty fast. I just typed myself. I could never understand. Eventually, dictation went by the way of the dodo.
Well,
So
you say it's gone out. The thing is,
Except for
not
you
many
on these
people
articles
can
that never
write.
come.
No, but not many people can like being able to type stuff out of your mind and onto a computer screen now. There's a definite skill or talent in that. And so journalists can do it. Some are great. You're very good at doing that. But I think a lot of people still find it easier to speak. And you say it's on the way out and no one does it. But there's this thing that's become quite popular recently called AI. and that AI is all speech to text. And like when you write an email, like if you write a long email now, are you typing it?
Yeah.
I would not do that.
Serious?
Yeah, I'll dictate the email.
Really?
Yeah, there are some problems in that like it's often not like
Doesn't
forget
pick up the
about
words
forget
properly.
about dictating anything with Siri. Even a text message comes out
Siri
as
forget about it.
bananas,
Yeah.
right? But if I go and I'm dictating something onto a computer, like it's actually pretty good most of the time.
I
Do you
speak too
dictate
fast
stuff,
for it.
Mike,
Doesn't
or
work.
not?
No, I like typing.
You like
I
typing.
don't really
Joel,
like
you
voice to
typing?
text.
Us millennials
I'm a
type.
big typer,
Yes.
Yeah, us millennials type a lot. Like it's
Actually, I will use sort of dictation when I'm in the car, though, obviously, because I can't text. Like,
when I hear the word dictation, what do you think of?
Summer Heights High.
Jonah from Summer Heights.
I don't even know what that is.
It's an old ABC TV show.
Okay, thank you.
That was an incredible show. Now it's been cancelled, sadly, but it was an unbelievable show. Chris
Oh,
Lilly
I
was-
love that TV
Chris
show.
Lilly, that was peak Chris Lilly. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Are we still doing this? Was this podcast still recording? Or have we, I had this experience this week, which was I'm going to take a risk now and go back to business content. But like, I had this.
Got plenty of business content.
I had this experience with Big W this week.
Oh.
You buy from Big W or not? I like Big
I
W.
got nothing against it, but
Yeah, I like them. They're cheap. And so
I don't like to buy stuff generally. I'm like a minimalist.
So I went and I bought this gift for my daughter, and I said I was going to do click and collect.
Oh.
And then I told her, I said, I got this thing for you. And she said to me, you already bought that for me like six months ago, the same thing.
What was it?
It was like she loves this show Wednesday. So it was a
Oh,
piece
yeah.
of Wednesday paraphernalia, okay? And I'm like, oh, God, I don't want to go and click and collect that thing. So I go and start to do a refund process.
Have you had an issue with this before? A
And
click
so
collect issue.
I
feel like
probably have.
This isn't your first click and collect rodeo from memory.
No, but click and collect. I had an issue with ASICs with my click and collects before I went overseas.
That's right.
one time.
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
bananas. I
yeah.
don't even know if I.
That's
got,
what I'm thinking of.
I'm not even. I
That was
don't
in
even
the
know if I
city,
got
wasn't it, or
double
something?
charged from that.
I think you got it back in the
Hopefully,
end.
I didn't.
Yeah.
It's long forgotten.
Yeah.
So this, I go on, and it was this incredible experience. Basically, I go into the Big W.
Big
app.
W is Woolworths, right?
Big W's Woolworths. I go into the Big W app. I say, go into the chat. What do you want? I'm like, I've changed my mind about something and don't want to pick up a click and collect. I type that into this chatbot.
Yeah.
It comes back and it knows what I'm talking about, and it says, so you want a refund for this? I'm
Did it
going to show.
identify you? Did you send your one-time password?
Well, I
and that?
logged in. I logged into my Big W app to do it, and then it says, here are your orders. Here are your recent
Great.
orders. Which order does it pertain to? I
Yep.
clicked the order. It said, no problem. So do you want to just have this refunded? Sure. Okay. I clicked it. It said, good. Is there anything else I can help you with? I clicked the no. It then said, I'm not really sure what you're trying to ask me. Can you elaborate more? So the wheels fell off at that point in time. But then it said, like, someone will get back to you in 24 to 48 hours. 2 hours later, I get an email saying your order's been cancelled and your money's been refunded. That is it is a chatbot. People have got lots to say about chatbots. Sometimes they just do chatbots when they could have done apps because they want it to be a chatbot. But this worked seamlessly. This is probably the best deployment of this type of thing
Or have you not
that I've
used,
seen
like, your
from
escapes?
from a major enterprise.
We've done that on chat for ages.
Your advantage is that you run this business. You know everything that's going on in it. You push this business hard, and essentially everyone in this company, no matter what level they're at, is accountable to you in some way. And so you can do things that are good business things. Imagine trying to run Big W and doing this in Big W and the hoops you would have to jump through. Can you imagine when you do a chatbot, what the testing is for the chatbot? They would just go and say, write things into the chatbot that are total profanity or sex related or whatever it is, and let's see how the chatbot. You have to go through that. I don't know if you're going through that at Luxury Escapes.
We've got
it would
a,
be a lot of hoops to get through.
I'm not sure we handle for weird people calling up, but we've been using Sierra for voice chat. So the written chat's much
This wasn't
easier.
voice, it was written.
I know, but we've been using voice chat now, and voice chat's getting a lot better. So we're up to. So we basically look at there's two metrics we use. One is like how many times is it like really bad? Because like someone getting cut off or talking over them, or like just bad. How many times is it bad? And it's down to sub 10% now, which is pretty good. So 90+% is either moderate or good, and it's like 60% good, so it's getting a lot better. And we're now solving more than 10% of cases over the phone. So you can say, I want a credit or refund, it will generally do, like a lot of stuff's really hard, we can't do it, but anything that's relatively simple, you can actually do it over the phone.
Whose voice is it? Your voice?
It's not my voice. It's a female voice. I think it's an American voice actually, but Sierra's been great. So we've used Lorikeet, the Australian guys, who are a bit better at the written chat, not the online voice one isn't quite their sweet spot yet. But Sierra, which is Brett Taylor's business, I think it's a 10 billion plus val now. Actually, no, it could have been 30 bill now. They've been actually really good. So that's I
think people with
great progression.
businesses that are consumer facing should be testing out this stuff, because like I've seen the future of good service from mediocre companies with Big W, and like it was pretty good, right?
Absolutely.
Like the fact that they can deploy that and it can
That's a
work.
pretty simple request.
Well, you say it is, but you would know this. Like the chatbot part of it is not the tricky part of it. The interfacing with legacy systems is the tricky part of it, and they've managed to do it. Like, I don't know what happened behind the scenes after I did the request, right? Because I'll tell you a funny story. When I was first advising health insurers, like in the 2000s, maybe 2010s, I got them to do online claiming. So if you used a health insurer, you would know you can do online claiming. Yeah. So I kind of really pushed them to do that.
You were the one who did that?
Yeah, because with my global reviews business, I've got two claims to fame. One is that, and one is I got Qantas and Virgin and Air New Zealand to do one-way fares online, so you didn't have to book return fares. Really? I'm sure I wasn't the strategist, but I pushed them hard and said, like, we're starting to see this in other markets. You got to bring it to Australia.
Yeah, they used to have one-way fares, but they were like the same price as a return fare.
That's right. And Qantas, to their credit at the time, a guy called John Lonergan was running their online part. I think he works for Amadeus or something now. And so he
works with Qantas, I think.
Who does work for, and basically he had this attitude, which is we should just copy everyone else around the world. People think we're this big, powerful company, but actually we're tiny compared to these global players. Let's just copy what other people do.
Like Apple's made a business of copying, really.
He's really good. And so what happened with health insurers though is really interesting. So I think the first one that did it was AHM before they were bought by Medibank out in Wollongong.
I didn't realise I thought AHM was just Medibank started as a discounter.
They bought them. So AHM was a business, Australian Health Management, based down in Wollongong. Yeah. Or up if you're from Melbourne. And so my business partner, Adam Goodvac, used to go out and spend time with them and give them advice. And I think they were there, and People Care, who are still independent, a little fund, very good fund. And so what they would do at the beginning is they would have an online form and you would submit all your information, and then literally it would go to a printer and it would print out all the information that you submitted online, and someone would re-key it into their legacy system and process the claim. Yeah. So it was just like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain kind of moment. But people thought it was amazing. Yeah. And this is like 2010 probably. Yeah. And that's how it started. I don't think that's what's going on at Big W. I think they probably did integrate it. There's too much volume, right? But I thought it was really impressive.
Have you got more stuff? Come move on some business stuff.
I've always got more. Was that not business stuff?
It was
all right, I'll give you something before we move on. How about this? Have you seen the ATO's terror ads that they're running? I heard them on the radio. Okay, so the ATO's running these ads on the radio. I think this is because the government's so desperate to
terror as in how bad the CGT laws are?
Or terror? They're trying to terrorise people. So there's an ad on the radio that has a small business person talking to their friend, and I won't go through the whole context of it, but the gist of it is, if you don't declare absolutely every last dollar of income that you receive, the ATO is all-knowing, all-seeing, and is going to fine you thousands of dollars and is all-powerful, so you better watch out.
It's like the AIDS Grim Reaper campaign.
It is, and it's like, I've never heard... So this is the ATO buying inventory off radio to run these ads. I've never heard this before. Yeah. You think this is because they're trying to just desperate to collect revenue? Like, probably. What's going on here?
I suspect so.
I thought that was like, because the ATO, they work for you. Yeah. And me, like we pay them. And I'm all in favour of them going and getting taxes that people haven't paid. That's their job, right? Pay your taxes.
How about hitting the cigarette, the illegal cigarette? People. That'd be a start.
Well, yeah, but like why?
That 20 billion of revenue I've lost there.
If you don't pay, if one doesn't pay their tax, I'm all in favour of the ATO going and collecting that. I'm not in favour of them terrorising small business people, but like I really don't support this kind of thing. And like That's the minister I want on, the finance minister, and say you.
I don't think Katie Gallagher's going to be coming on this podcast
gotta,
anytime soon. To be honest,
yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah,
but like,
one
you
of the
got
mean
to
girls.
tone it down a bit. Like, tell people to pay their taxes.
Yeah.
but don't tell them like we're all knowing and all seeing, and we're going to tear your arms off if you don't pay. I was very
this is a
shocked.
government that hates business. We know that.
Well, I was.
They hate business people. They hate aspiration. They hate hope. They hate wealth. They hate anything like that. They love unions, and as Tim Wilson said last week, they love unions and public service workers. That's who they govern for, and Tim got it 100% right.
Actually, I think the ATO reports to the Treasurer directly, so we have to get the Treasurer
possibly.
on.
Yeah, I think even less chance of getting Tim on, to be honest.
But in fairness, could be a new Treasurer soon. I think
Could be AC.
could be.
Yeah. Speaking of taxes, can we move on to the CGT Backdown? Because obviously it was a pretty big week. So Albo and Jim have semi-backed down on their much vilified budget, announcing last week the business turnover up to $10 million will be eligible for a 50% capital gains tax concession, as well as obviously inflation-adjusted discount on active assets that are sold after 12 months. This is up from a $2 million level.
I'm so happy that you've started with this because I never get to criticise you with stuff like this. But can I just say the following?
Yeah.
Are you a shill for the government?
I'm still going.
Back down.
I haven't finished
You call
my-
this a back down.
Well, how's that being a
You
shill?
said the word back down. This is not a back
How's
down.
that being a shill?
Because that's
I'm
what
criticising them.
Well, maybe it's not a shill because they wouldn't say the word back down, but they say the word
Retreat.
carve out.
Yeah.
But this is none of that. This is smoke and mirrors. This is the shell game, as you would call it. Anyway, keep going.
The government also announced a near impossible to achieve 50% discount for innovative businesses where the startup must have less than $50 million in turnover and that any shares must be new equity issued by a company less than 10 years old or 15 years old in case of biotech, medtech and deep tech. Also, the lifetime cap of the so-called generous discount, which is still pathetic by global standards, has been capped at $10 million. This means many successful entrepreneurs and investors will be much more inclined to leave the country rather than give up subsequent gains. This has happened in virtually every jurisdiction that intentionally targets wealthier people. Despite the backdown, the inept Labor government continues to be pilloried, with Chanticleer putting it best and noting the government seems so focused on redistributing the pie and doesn't appear to have any ideas on how to grow it. James Thompson added, what Albanese and Chalmers don't seem to get is the fact that the CGT reforms will change the cost of capital and push investors towards higher yielding, more mature companies that pay big dividends and is a byproduct of these changes.
I totally agree with that line. They don't realise that it will change the cost of capital.
Absolutely.
They have no understanding of that concept
absolutely.
whatsoever.
Yeah, and at the heart of the debate is a simple idea. We want to incentivise risk-taking, not disincentivise it, which is the point you're making.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Are you tempering your criticism of me firstly? after you listen to the whole
I just
introduction?
didn't like to be
Are we
called
going to get an apology on
it's
behalf
not
of
all right, I
listeners here?
sincerely apologise for calling you a shill because they wouldn't say back down. But I don't think this is a back down. This is basically, like I call this, the Simpsons episode where Homer and Chief Wiggum are in a hole and they say, how are we going to get out? And they say, we'll dig our way out. And then Chief Wiggum yells, no, dig up, stupid. Like this feels like that moment to me. Firstly, I don't understand some of this. Like I legitimately don't. So this $10 million lifetime discount.
There's two $10 million things which makes it super confusing.
But you can claim maximum $10 million lifetime discount.
There's a $10 million revenue cap. At the same time, there's a $10 million personal
But
lifetime
we'll come back
discount.
to the revenue
It's crazy,
cap. But
confusing.
the lifetime discount, what happens after that $10 million?
You don't get the discount. You're paying 47%.
You don't get any discount?
Nothing.
No
Nothing.
discounts?
Even Daniel Petrie, who I was obviously very critical of a few weeks ago, Daniel Petrie's finally regained some backbone and criticised the changes. So good on Daniel for changing his views.
So hang on, you're saying to me what you think is the case.
It is the case.
Is that in
It's
your...
not what I think is the case.
in
I
your
literally
whole-
said this is the case.
In your whole life...
Your whole life.
From the 1st of July 2027, you start counting how many dollars you claimed as a discount.
Yes.
Is that for everything or just for this 25% retention?
I presume it doesn't include grandfathered stuff because I thought that will completely decimate the grandfather stuff.
But hang on. So what's happened here is they've basically said, we're going to replace everything with one system, which is indexation of the cost base. We're going to call that system, okay? And then they got pummeled and they said, okay, but hang on, I should say, we're going to replace everything with that one system except if you buy a new house a new property as an investor, then you can use this other system, a 50% discount on your
or stuff you
marginal
already
tax.
own, you get a valuation.
Yeah, or grandfather stuff. Okay. So then you can say, That's fine. Now they got pummeled. We're going to bring in another part of this, which is if you qualify for all of these hoops that no one is ever going to
innovative
understand,
bullshit they try to claim.
then you can also claim this 50% discount
Up to 50 million.
Up to 50 mil.
Yeah.
But then there's this $10 million cap. How does that fit? I don't understand how any of this fits together. It's like you're trying to do a puzzle, but people have poured in pieces from 8 different puzzles and now make the picture. That doesn't fit together. You can't make this picture.
I'm hesitant to assume stuff here because these people are so stupid, but how I would assume is that $10 million lifetime cap is for stuff that isn't covered by these exceptions. That's the only assumption I can make that makes any sense at all. But these people are so dumb that who knows?
But hang on, if I trade shares...
Yeah.
And by the way, I should also point out, so is this discount still you have to hold the asset for a year?
Yes.
Even for
Yes, you still have to hold for a year.
Cost-based indexation is still 1 year holding the asset.
The year thing, whatever, that's always been the case.
All right, but I just want to know if they've changed that.
No, I don't think they've changed
So
the
if
year
I go and invest in shares, then over my entire life, I get to claim a deduction on $10 million worth of inflation-adjusted gains.
Yeah, you get the discount.
But on the first dollar after $10 million, do I just lose all discounts?
That was the original budget. You never had a discount, so they've added some exceptions to the non-discount, essentially.
No, but I got a discount. The indexation is a discount of sorts, right? So do I keep my indexation over the $10 million or not?
I presume so.
So I can always get indexation.
I think everything's always indexed.
I see. So indexation exists.
But indexation doesn't help for fast growth companies. It only helps for slow, boring
but
dividend
it
payers.
helps people that buy and sell shares.
Boring, slow growth dividend payers, sure.
And so,
but if you want to invest in a fast growing company, it's useless.
So my fallback is I always get cost-based indexation.
Yeah.
And sometimes I might qualify to get a 50% reduction of my marginal tax rate.
Yeah.
But I have to jump through certain hoops, which are hard to get through.
And let's not forget that.
And even if I jump through those hoops, I have a lifetime maximum of $10 million that I can claim.
I think the lifetime maximum is outside the hoops, but I have to clarify that. But I think what we also forget is this so-called generous 50% discount isn't actually that generous on global terms.
No,
most countries are less than 23%. So we're a high taxing CGT government before this disaster of government came in place.
No, you're right. We can say this. Sweden, not exactly known for being business
Socialists.
friendly. Although, by the way, they've become much more business friendly now. Like they've really diverged from other
heroic.
Nordic.
Don't forget they were heroic over COVID. They were the only government that didn't pathetically enclose their citizens in their houses. So,
but they've if you look at Sweden and Norway and their social infrastructure and their capitalist economies, they've really diverged in the last decade.
So Sweden didn't have that.
I know. So. Yeah, that's true. And so Sweden, I think, has a CGT cap. This so-called socialist country has a CGT cap of 30%.
Yeah.
That's their CGT cap.
I think it's usually
flat.
lower.
For some stuff, it's like, perversely, some of these countries in the Nordics, I can't remember which one. One of them has a 22% CGT cap for property.
Yeah.
And a 30%. And Sweden has a 30% cap. And so my point is this. Our cap is effectively 45%. If you work it out for a fast-growing business, you'll pay 45% tax on the top, right?
About the inflation adjusted.
Inflation adjusted, yeah. If you've got something with a very low cost base that grows dramatically, so the cost base is low relative to where you end up, you're going to pay about 45% tax on it. And so it is 50% higher than the Swedish cap.
Yeah.
That is insane.
As I said, Stalin's Russia had a lower CGT rate than DMG.
I'm not sure they were massively supportive of private enterprise in Stalin's Russia, but neither is this government, to be honest.
On par.
So I would say...
Unless you're old and you're in super, then you pay 10%. So you're
I
fine.
would say,
so your solution here is being old. That's actually the real... If you're old and rich, you're fine. This government loves old rich people, hates millennials, hates Mike, hates Joel, hates me, loves old people.
Well, in fairness, I might hate Mike and Joel as well. That might be a low bar. No. But I will say, so the thing is, we can say this is crazy, but what we can also say is, I think it's fair to say we are at least slightly above the average understanding of Australians when it comes to these types of things.
Yeah.
And we can't understand this. It's a complete dog's breakfast to try to put the pieces together.
I think Australians know they're being shafted here, though. I think people are smart enough, for most people. There are some people who just think I'm never going to make any money, so I'm let someone else pay that tax. But I think certainly a lot of business owners, a lot of young people who want to be business owners realise they're getting shafted here.
So I want to say, give you a comment that Albanese said, and I think that this one comment demonstrates a complete lack of belief in capitalism and a capitalist system. He says, what I say to small business owners, So these are people that probably have a mortgage on their house or personal guarantees in order for their business to operate and are taking substantial personal risk. I don't have to sell this to you. And for at least some extended period of time, took materially below market
I'm not
wages,
getting paid anything
right?
sometimes.
Yeah. So these are these people
Yeah.
who are the job creation engine of this
Absolutely.
country. If you take
They're
out the
paying their
public
staff.
service.
Before they pay themselves, they pay their staff. And that's the true
That's
heroism of
well,
entrepreneurs.
that is a great point. That is a great point. I'm going to start saying that point. That's a great point. I'm not going to give you credit for it. And so this is what he says. What I say to the small business owners is in bracket from the publication. What I say to small business owners is that the aspiration, that means your aspiration as a small business owner, is the same as for every worker to aspire to more income, to aspire to be better off in life. I mean, you get what he's saying. He's not great with the English language, but and what we're doing is better aligning income from work with income from assets. And there in one barely comprehensible sentence is a treatise, as you would call it, where he is saying, I do not believe in the principles of capitalism.
Yeah.
Because in capitalism, capital, I mean, it's in the name, capital and labour do not get treated the same. For better or for worse, I think it's turned out for better because capital is what drives wealth creation and jobs growth in a capitalist society. And Albanese has just said to you, I do not believe in the fundamental cornerstone of capitalism.
But also, there's a lot of bad things about that comment, but what's really bad about it is he separates, you either own capital or you're a worker. There are millions of Australian workers who work really hard and don't, so essentially it goes back to the cost of capital point. Once you earn your money after tax, you can do things. You can spend it or you can save it. And if you save it and invest it in productive assets like startups, like businesses, whatever, if we create jobs and we create prosperity for a country. And Silicon Valley is the ultimate example of this. Tel Aviv is another great example. If you spend it on cocaine, on alcohol, on illegal cigarettes, or whatever you're doing, you're literally fritting it away. Yeah, maybe somebody benefits in the chain, but it doesn't create jobs for other people. What Albanese and Shambles have done is take away from productive assets, which is the most productive is startups, and give it to the least productive, which essentially is your primary residence or illegal tobacco, or whatever else they're supporting.
You say they're giving it to illegal tobacco because instead of going and fighting that and getting $20 billion of lost tax from illegal tobacco, they're getting $5 billion from CGT changes.
Exactly. So it's just a policy that harms workers. It doesn't help workers at all. It creates less jobs. It hurts the young.
That's
it doesn't
right.
help anyone. It's just such a stupid policy. And he's trying to create this workers good, capital bad mentality. But that's not like that at all. A lot of workers own capital. That's what superannuation is, ironically.
Well, what he's saying with this is a politician who is paid from the public purse is as aspirational as someone that opens a hairdressing business and doesn't pay themselves for 4 years.
Yep.
We are the same aspirational. Now, you might be the same ambitious. I would say Albanese is probably more ambitious if you look at what he's done to get to where he's gotten to.
Yep.
But he's not as aspirational, and we should not compare the taxpayer-funded salary that a politician gets with the hairdresser and the sweat equity they've built up in that and the risks they've taken. And if you do compare those things, then frankly, you no longer believe in capitalism. And I think, there's been a lot of lies about this tax. Like the whole thing is based on a lie, right? At the last election. But he is not lying about his core ideology.
Yeah.
His core ideology is, I do not believe in capitalism.
Yeah.
And I will say, there are not really democracies that have managed to exist anywhere around the world in history for extended periods of time that have not been based on capitalist economies. There are capitalist economies that are not democracies, but vice versa.
Yeah.
Really, the history of democracy has been, and people might say, well, what about ancient Greece? Some nerds will say that. And I'll say, that's not really democracy in what we call it. We took the word from them, but it wasn't really democracy, and then it didn't exist for 2,500 years after that. But really, modern democracies have got no history of existing in the absence of a capitalist economy. And this is a slippery slope to democratic disaster if we start eroding capitalism.
Yeah. On that note, I was want to talk about AFR reported this week that in the past year, the S&P ASX 200 index has eked out basically a gain of 4%, while Wall Street's S&P 500 index has risen 24%.
Oh my God, that breaks my heart.
And the world index has risen 25%. Yeah. When you factor in inflation, it actually hasn't gone up at all. So Chanticleer also noted that last month's minimum wage increase of 4.75%, was followed by a 15% increase for wages for childcare workers. Australia now has one of the highest rates of inflation in the OECD, with core inflation, which excludes energy costs, up massive 3.4%. This is miles above the midpoint of the RBA. And the RBA's target's too high anyway, but RBA's got a 2 to 3, so 2.5%.
Have they given up? Has the RBA given up?
Well, they seem to have. Even worse, like actual inflation, which doesn't exclude energy, because real inflation's inflation. That was 4.2%. It could be even 4.9%. So we're being smashed. The younger, poorer people are being absolutely smashed by inflation here. Rich, old people, again, fine, because they've got assets that increase with inflation.
How often do you check I know I always interrupt your talks now, but how often do you check your utility, the competitiveness of your utility bills, gas, electricity?
I tend to... I manage to manage apartments. I have a pretty good idea of how much utilities should cost. I do track it, but it's pretty hard to change. So I did look about that 6 months ago.
Because do you sign up for a year at a time?
I looked 6 months ago and put my thing in one of the AI things and how does this compare? And it was actually pretty good, so I didn't really...
There's an Australian government tool that compares gas and electricity prices, and I typed all my details in great detail, and it just got it totally wrong. It was totally wrong. Mike and Joel, do you go and check how much you're being charged for electricity and gas and swap?
Yeah, I have records of every bill I pay, and I'll examine them after a certain amount of months and decide.
And would you know how many megajoules you use
No,
and how much you pay per megajoule and stuff?
No.
Would you check that when you're choosing a provider?
No, I wouldn't check that much.
So how do you know who to choose?
I just choose whoever's cheapest at the
How
time
do you know
I'm
if they're
signing up.
cheapest? What do you use to know if they're
Pure just dollar value.
But how can you
Isn't it based on how much power you use?
But yeah, okay, sure.
Do you use a
sure.
comparison
Whoever has the
website? You're
lowest
assuming you
rate,
use consistent
whoever
power.
has the lowest rate per kilowatt
Kilowatt
hour,
hour,
whatever,
whatever.
whatever
Yeah.
they charge by, I'll just choose whatever the lowest one is. Yes,
All right,
but
but you
I
know
will
that-
change, and I change insurance. I'll change all that stuff.
And what about you, Joel?
My girlfriend picked them all, and I just pay her what she says that we owe.
You're really a Renaissance man, Joel. So I went through that process recently, and actually the difference in what they charge,
Significant?
It's unbelievable. And just so you know, Mike, with electricity, there's a daily charge, and then there's a step 1 charge and a step 2 charge, and different charges in summer and winter.
Yeah.
And gas is all it is very
you have solar?
complicated. I don't have solar, but that you can factor in solar. That's another
Do you have
huge.
solar, Mike?
No, we don't have solar.
Joel, solar?
So you might tell me that you might not be very positive about what I'm about to say, but I just swapped to an electricity thing. I don't have an electric car, but I swapped to something that gives me free power between 11 and 2 every day, free electricity.
I heard an ad for that on the radio the other day.
So I did that online, and so I don't know. I'm probably not going to be able to run my washing machine and dishwasher because I'm not going to be home between 11 and 2. But that is aspiration. I want to run my dishwasher then. So it's a bit of a tangent, but I just went through the process, and I would say this. The government website cannot be trusted.
Yeah.
I literally
I'm shocked at that.
I typed in stuff and uploaded my bill to it.
Yeah.
But
You heard of something called Claude? Why don't you try using that one instead of whatever pathetic government thing they've
actually,
created?
I did use that in the end, and so Claude does make some mistakes with maths sometimes, basic maths, but basically, I always tease my son because my son is a math genius, but I'm better at arithmetic. I'm faster than him at
I'm
arithmetic.
very good at the simple stuff, hopeless at the hard
And
stuff.
so I think Claude is more like my son. He'll actually not be happy about me saying that at all. But I use Claude, and I just uploaded screenshots of prices from different providers into Claude and my bill, and I said, "Can you just work this out?" And I double checked the end result. Anyway, people should do that.
I think also what I said when I asked Gemini or whatever, I said, "How much should I be paying per kilowatt hour in Victoria?" And I've just used that. That gave me the price. I can compare to what price I was paying, and it kind of worked.
And I also found out that I was taking showers that were much longer than everybody else's. And also I take multiple showers every day.
Yeah.
And so that is not good for my gas bill either.
Yeah, I would have thought. Just thinking back to the ASX. If you go back to 2006, the ASX is only up 32%. That's in 20 years. That's 1.4% compounded annually. So the ASX has been, obviously there's dividends on top of that, but there's also inflation. So presumably dividends inflation kind of equal out. So ASX has been just a quagmire for
terrible.
2 decades.
Agreed.
What a disastrous state of affairs. And when you got stuff like the CGT, it's certainly not helping either.
Well, I think the biggest travesty, because I thought about this quite a bit in the last week, we're all fighting about CGT, And Chalmers' comment, the fight that he had with the Daily Oz was basically how many young people even are affected by CGT.
Yeah.
And that kind of triggered a thought in my mind, which is we shouldn't be arguing whether 10 or 20% are affected by CGT. We should be saying, how come 70% of young people are not affected by CGT? And the answer is because if you earn $45,000 to $135,000, you're paying an extra 30%. You're paying 30% of tax on every incremental dollar.
Yeah.
And frankly, the tax on people earning $100,000, the average wage in Australia, it's usurious levels of tax. And this debate should actually be about income tax and not completely screwing middle income earners out of their income tax. And somehow the entire tax debate has been completely deviated towards CGT. It's political genius, frankly, when everyone who is earning $45,000 to $135,000 should be, this is the government's core constituency, they should be yelling at this government to reduce their income taxes.
Saying since this, I was saying there's so many tax breaks for richer people.
Yeah.
And if you're going to give tax breaks to rich people, somebody's got to pay for all this massive spending. It's middle income earners that pay for it all.
They finally channel their inner Karl Marx and do these tax changes. But what do? They actually go and flog young people much harder than older rich people.
Well, superannuation's the greatest war of them all that wasn't touched. So
I just can't believe what's going on in this country.
Yeah. On that note, we'll go to a quick break. I want to talk about the KPMG story, which is a massive story in corporate Australia, which will be about to be broken open back in just a moment. And we're back, and this isn't a deep dive, but this intro is a bit of a deep dive as you've just pillared me during the break. But if you could distill the world's supply of schadenfreude into a single story, it would be the rapid unravelling of the hypocritical and dishonest KPMG. One of the big four accounting firms is being justifiably slammed by pretty much everyone, from its clients, politicians, and now even its own board. KPMG's Australian directors and former directors claim they've lost trust in the firm for misusing confidential client information after KPMG repeatedly discredited and ignored an explosive whistleblower claim that the firm brazenly shared confidential client documents to win new audit work. KPMG even accessed very confidential board papers of long-term clients, most notably Lendlease, which was a 70-year client of the firm, to win more audit work for its multi-millionaire senior audit partners. Labor Senator Deborah O'Neill, who's been a bit of a bulldog in all this stuff, said evidence given by KPMG's top brass was truly shocking and suggested an untrustworthiness that could undermine confidence in the company audits and markets more broadly. This would in turn harm every Australian who has ever worked. The chairman of Lendlease, John Gillam, blasted the behaviour of KPMG, its auditor for almost 70 years, in sharing confidential documents to win audit work at Westpac and Dexus. Gillam claimed it was a fundamental breach of trust, and how can we trust them if they can't do that? Clearly furious, Gillam told the Inquiry, whenever you have a fundamental breach of trust, then you have other doubts that creep in. The AFR noted that KPMG employs 9,000 people, almost 700 partners, and last year earned more than $2 billion in fees. Insiders fear a chunk of this revenue could be at risk because of the scandal. KPMG argued that it had launched 3 investigations into the hugely damaging accusations and claiming that law firm Ashurst had conducted the first. Incredibly, this was denied by Ashurst, meaning that the disgraced firm even lies about the investigations that was appointed. KPMG, even more appallingly, is relying on legal professional privilege to avoid giving documents demanded by the Parliamentary Committee investigating behaviour. This move was blasted by current and former directors. So have you followed this part? This is almost the most outrageous of all this outrage. So basically they had this whistleblower, they ignored the whistleblower. Eventually, the whistleblower contacted the board, actually, so Mike Baird and these guys. Mike Baird forced these criminal executives to actually do something. They then got these law firms in, and because they got the law firms to investigate, they came in, it's privileged, we can't give it. They've got this criminal conduct, or allegedly criminal conduct, or certainly dishonest conduct. They got this law firm to investigate them, and they're using this internal investigation to avoid giving it to a real investigator. That's just outrageous.
And in the meantime, no one protects the whistleblower.
So
the whistleblower is being exposed internally throughout the organisation. Globally, I think he got fired. And ASIC,
I'm not sure the whistleblower got fired. They tried to fire the whistleblower pretty quickly. They certainly dismissed the claims.
And ASIC has conceded that they have inadequate powers to protect the whistleblower because something about these types of partnerships don't exactly fall under ASIC as part of the Corporations Act. So this whistleblower who has now said, I wouldn't do this again, it was too terrible.
Yeah.
We don't. This country can't even protect the whistleblowers that do
hopeless
this.
protecting. We know we're hopeless protecting.
Hopeless.
But I think what's so disgusting is the behaviour of KPMG. And if you know Dorothy Hisgrove, who was the head of people, who's probably the internally the most on point person here. Have you seen her record?
No.
This is quite the record. So she was Ahmed Fahour's person at NAB and then Australia Post. Ahmed, I don't mind Ahmed. He didn't have a great record in these organisations. Then went to the AFL. We know what I think of the AFL. What a disaster that's been. Then went to PwC during the whole cover-up of the whole tax leaks thing. And I actually think PwC was less bad than this, I should add. And now she's at KPMG during this cover-up. Is there a more fireable person in Australia than this person? This is outrageous.
I agree. So I generally find a lot of this stuff quite boring with these big firms. I'm not saying this story is boring, but because there's all sorts of stuff that goes on in these firms that is just, I don't know, it's just a bit boring to me. But I do agree with you that what happened with PwC, it feels like they tried to make a real example of it and it got political steam and maybe some unfair things happened to some people internally but some people deserved it. But some people I think were kind of, put up for public execution unfairly, right?
Remember what PwC did? So PwC was on the government's sort of advisory board, and the government said, we might do some tax stuff. They went told, like, some big clients internationally, here's some stuff that could happen in Australia. But by the time this happened, the government found out, shut them all down, and not a cent of revenue was lost. Like, it was, I'm not saying the PwC's conduct was great.
It was wrong, but they didn't. What they did was very inappropriately shared briefing information from the government. So that's wrong, and some people should get fired.
It was a victimless crime, really, because they wouldn't lose a cent of revenue.
They didn't sell out their own customers.
That was the clients. So they've got a duty to these clients. They stole their board papers and tried to win work. This is outrageously bad. And so the person who's taken the fall so far and who deserved to take the fall was former CEO Andrew Yates, who led the firm when this behaviour occurred, and more aptly during the whole whistleblower. Like, it's bad enough the behaviour occurred, but the treatment of this whistleblower was the most outrageously bad behaviour.
Agree with
they did everything they can. This is like, remember Theranos when there was all these whistleblowers and they were hiring people to like stalk them and follow them and bully them and all that kind of stuff.
That's called we've got something to hide.
Absolutely. And Yates was paid $3 million salary last year alone. He's getting a $1.7 million termination notice payment. This is a guy who should get nothing. Like, clearly should get nothing. There's a real question.
Well, I think that's the end of a career, though, isn't it?
Like, he's old anyway.
I know, but the people that run these things, they want to go sit on boards after this. I think the board path is now closed.
Even worse. And this is the worst part about this Andrew Yates guy. So Andrew Yates in 2023 said this. This is why the PwC issue is so disturbing. Based on the findings of the Tax Practitioners Board and the most recent revelations from Senate estimates, the conduct of PwC was clearly unethical and unacceptable. Yates even emphasised that KPMG did not use legal professional privilege improperly, a reference to PwC's use of legal device to stonewall investigations. How many times can this guy lie in one sentence?
He could go into politics. This is good training for politics.
I don't think even politicians lie this much.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. This guy's First, he's accusing PwC who acted right, and this is after all this stuff was happening. He knew that they knew what was going on then, and he's trying to claim we would never claim professional privilege. He then went and claimed it. This is just outrageous how bad this guy's a shocker. So not only did he basically try to steal clients from PwC, he also lied about the whole process in front of Parliament. Actually, even got even worse last Friday when the presumably soon-to-be sacked KPMG chairman, Martin Shepherd, told the Senate committee that a former KPMG partner who is now chairman of Westpac's audit committee stayed at Shepherd's house while KPMG was pitching for the $32 million audit job for Westpac, a guy called Peter Nash.
Yeah.
And possibly even worse again, so Macquarie, which is the biggest audit in Australia, $75 million audit, Macquarie... So the KPMG partner called Michelle Hinchcliffe, she left KPMG and within a couple of months was a Macquarie board member. She chairs the audit committee. After 37 years, who do you reckon won the audit for Macquarie last year?
I'd be shocked if it wasn't KPMG.
KPMG. So you've got these KPMG partners who they claim they take them out of the protest. We know that. We know they don't.
But that's not unique to them. I mean, there's lots of things that
KPMG
you can criticise.
did a high watermark for misfeasance now. Poor PwC copped it from everyone for something that was nowhere near this bad.
So a whole lot of, I'll comment about all this stuff in a second, but that particular thing, which is extending your tentacles, Goldman Sachs are the masters of that globally.
But audit's different. Audit's just different to banking.
Well, that's true. That's a good point because that's banking.
Yeah, but audit, you're representing shareholders. You're saying these executives are doing it.
You're right.
So these people come on the board and they don't go on the board to look after shareholders. They go on the board to look after their former firm.
We know how, well, I would say this. One of the things that I learned when I got involved with a public company.
Who's your auditor?
Which I hadn't thought, EY, which I hadn't thought about previously, is that if you want to change auditors as a public company, it needs to go to a shareholder vote. Yeah. You can't just change them as a director. And so I think that kind of tells you, that reinforces what you've just said about the importance of auditors as a shareholder safeguard.
How's this for Yates told the committee, I don't believe across my 36 years I was a bad apple. Mate, you were the most rotten apple on the tree. This is outrageous. And like effectively lying to the
Here's your most rotten apple today on the tree.
Yeah,
but
a few rotten apples around.
Yeah, it's like you've got a lot of trees with a lot of rotten apples.
This is like, how many column inches were devoted to PwC? This is like levels above PwC. This is not just the crime, not just the stealing the documents and using them for your own money-making schemes, but to effectively victimise this poor whistleblower. And God knows the mental state of this heroic whistleblower who tried, eventually had to go to and credit to the KPMG board and Mike Baird, Mike Baird was revealed quit in disgust at this behaviour, and good on him for doing that.
Well, I remember when he quit, it was kind of...
Of course, it wasn't the real reason.
Just before, he said a few things, but obviously he knew what was going on inside.
Well, that's why he quit. He quit on this basis.
But, beware of Mike Baird in front of a committee. The last time he did it, he brought down Gladys. This time he's, I wouldn't say he's brought down KPMG, but he probably was the linchpin that unravelled, well, it's a mixed metaphors, but that unravelled all of this stuff, his testimony.
You look at, obviously, Arthur Andersen as a firm collapsed on the back of what happened after the Enron stuff. This is not hugely...
Well, it's less high profile because it's more distributed, malfeasance as opposed to one thing. I tell you how I feel about this more broadly. So I was out at the Western Bulldogs the other day, and so often I'll go out to these clubs, I get invited out to talk a bit about business stuff.
What a great club the Bulldogs are.
Great club.
Meet Bain's a fantastic CEO and Bevo's been a great coach.
The vibe in that place is there's an ex-Catapult guy, Michael Regan, who's out there, who's absolutely terrific. He was one of the key reasons we were able to expand into the US, frankly.
Oh, really?
And so I went out there and I talked to the players. It's kind of ostensibly about business and entrepreneurship and what you do post-career, but there's also a lot of a bit of a life view of things, right? And one of the things that I will generally say to these players is exactly what I feel like should be said to this board and this CEO. No matter what happens, in the case of footy, you should never do anything that you would be embarrassed about on the front page of the Herald Sun. And I try to live my life of you should never do anything that you would be embarrassed about on the front page of the Financial Review. Yep. All of this would not have been hard to understand, was going to look terrible on the front page of the Financial Review. They just didn't think it was going to get there.
Of course they didn't. And they did everything they can to stop it getting there.
But welcome to the reality. It is there. It's literally on the front page.
Yeah.
It feels
How
to me...
bad was the hypocrisy, though? This guy's trumpeting 2 years ago. I remember reading that thinking, this guy seems like a real prick. How dare he... PwC were at the low ebb. They'd done something stupid, but whatever. It was no one about
You're more worked up about hypocrisy in general than I am.
Yeah, hypocrisy is the worst.
I don't think it's the worst. I think bad behaviour is the worst. The hypocrisy... we're all hypocrites. You're you're a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite. We're all engaged in hypocrisy.
But this is hypocrisy writ large. This is the peak of hypocrisy.
We don't all engage in fraud, thankfully, and screwing over our customers. That's why I'm more concerned about that part of it. And I think the thing about what goes on is that organisations have a lot of groupthink, where no one else says it's bad, so you kind of roll with it and you kind of feel this may not be great, but everyone's doing it, and if you don't do it, you may not end up staying in the firm or you won't hit your billing numbers. So I get that. And a lot of low-level bad behaviour kind of slides through on the basis of groupthink. That's culture, right? Yep. Bad culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not that. It was so anyone could have known that taking your client's confidential information and using that to win other clients is way beyond acceptable behaviour. Yeah. And the fact that nobody stopped this, no one stopped this, except one, what was it, a partner, the whistleblower?
It was an executive of some sort.
It's not even someone at the top of the organisation.
No. Well, you got the head of people and culture still there. I don't know how. The old COO is it's gone back to being a partner. None of these, and the chairman's still there. All these people have to go. Completely, and you got to feel for there's 700 partners, 9,000 people.
Yeah.
98% of good people done nothing wrong here. You'd be wanting to leave this hellhole as soon as possible. This is just you talk about Bulldogs having great culture because Amit's such a fantastic CEO and such a great guy. Finally, what a great family that is. His sister was running ASOP for many years. So great culture at the Bulldogs he's talked about, horrendous culture at KPMG clearly, and the people who created that culture are still there other than one guy.
So what's the because these partnerships are like a global affiliation, right? And so what's the global KPMG partnership going to do about this? I mean, this is
that's what PwC. That's what came down on PwC. Remember, they shipped in a guy from the US to run.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to do something because this is Wall Street Journal material.
Yeah,
and once it hits the Wall Street Journal, that does real brand damage. I'm surprised it hasn't.
We both obviously get the journal. I haven't seen it in the journal yet.
Yeah,
but it's surprising it hasn't.
Like if and when this starts appearing there, this will be real global brand damage for KPMG. I think they're going to have to do something.
Well, they are, but they're not doing moving fast. So Martin Shepherd's got to go. Hisgrove has to go. Like they all have to go.
Though. I think. Look, I'm not wishing this on anyone because, like, this is all very bad behaviour. But generally, I don't like advocating for people to be publicly shredded. But I think they're going to need to do some public executions with KPMG as a global business to show this is completely unacceptable behaviour.
$1.7 million term. He should be getting zero for a start. Like they all should be getting zero. They should be fined. Like Luke Sayles was fined by PwC for multiple infractions. These guys should be fined. Same thing.
You are obviously very critical of Richard Goyder and have been very critical of
justifiably so,
and very critical of the Qantas CEO
Alan Joyce.
But ultimately, he did get his bonus pulled back as a result.
No, but he still got. And remember, don't forget, Richard Goyder allowed Joyce to sell like $30-40 million.
I know,
shares,
but in the end, he did have a big millions of dollars of his bonus clawed back.
Was clawed back.
Well, it was millions of dollars. It was,
but this is a guy who's been paid $120 million. I know, so it was irrelevant.
So I suspect this 1.7 mil. Like the thing is this: if you claw that back, then he has to sue you. Let him sue. And I think the look of that is much worse.
He's not going to sue
anyone. For the person doing the suing.
This guy's not going to sue anyone. Who was the guy who sued a few months ago?
The ANZ
guy, Shane Elliott, who humiliatingly backed down about a month later. But
it's not a good look. If you get fired, and there's some kind of grey clouds over what happened, I don't think
there's a cyclone over this guy.
You don't want to draw that through the evidentiary process in a court. It's not going to go well for you.
And there's no chance he'd win. Yeah. We're going to move on to the final story, and I thought this has been really interesting. Ferrari's controversial new EV, the Luce, which I think means light in Italian, has drawn both praise and a lot of haters. What's your thoughts on that new EV?
It's not the greatest looking car.
I think inside looks really good. The outside is, and there's a reason for that because the way you got to structure EVs for aerodynamics is very different to combustions. They couldn't get the traditional Ferrari sort of downward pressure.
When you see a Ferrari driving down the street, even if you don't see the badge, you know it's a Ferrari. Yeah. You couldn't say that about this car. No. I think that's the difference.
I think we're not on a car show, but what's really what we are as a brand show. And I think this is really interesting. I'm not sure if you saw this article in the journal. I think it was, but obviously Ferrari has this kind of cult following. It's like Hermes but on steroids. Mm-hmm. So the reason they get these like 50% gross margins is because they have not just the sort of entry level Ferraris, which call it $500,000. That sounds expensive. It's actually not. You want to get the supercars. The supercars cost like $5+ million. So and it's a bit like Hermes. You want to buy a Birkin or a Kelly, you got to buy the same value in other stuff. So these loyal Ferrari owners need to buy lots of Ferraris to get the status. Yeah. It's putting this new Luce is putting a lot of pressure on Ferrari diehards who may need to buy it to continue what's called good standing. So whilst Ferrari has allegedly issued strict orders to prevent dealers from suggesting that buying the €550,000 Luce would give customers a stronger position on the loyalty list, many buyers still believe this is the case. Allegedly, a Ferrari dealer in Western China said he thought buying a Luce would bring significant benefits in the future, noting Luce will come with very attractive credit rewards, much higher than petrol cars. That's sort of your status points in a way. This will make it easier to qualify for certain limited edition models. The Financial Times reported that while Ferrari does not disclose details of its client ranking or allocation policies, owners of its sports cars and analysts said it closely tracked customer data, including the number of cars purchased over the years, how long these models were kept, and how they were maintained even. The participation rate in Ferrari organised events and how much the cars were driven after being purchased were also considered. These guys are like geniuses.
Yeah.
While Ferrari sells cars for as low as $500,000, Most hardcore Ferrari fans want access to the legendary supercars. The Ferrari F80, which is the successor, what's the successor to?
F40 maybe?
The LaFerrari is the
Well, there was
crown
an
jewel
F40.
of the current lineup. It sells for US 3.9 million if you can get it,
Yeah.
and 5 million on the secondary market in US. The Ferrari FXXK is a track-only, non-legal beast reserved for Ferrari's most elite clients. It sells for 3 million U and 4 million on the collector markets. That's what you want to get to. So, how good is this business?
Well, the ultimate thing is to say, this is better. We say brand is forgiveness.
Yeah.
This is better than forgiveness. This is, we might have created a bit of a dog, but
I think I would buy that before I'd buy another Ferrari. I personally prefer it, but I'm not the target market.
because of the look or because it's EV?
The EV thing, I actually like the look.
But you wouldn't buy a Ferrari regardless.
No, I don't like the normal combustion Ferraris. That's not my kind of car.
Yeah, I think they're too flashy. I agree with you on that. But so the thing is but this is not a popular car, okay?
Yeah.
And so not only do they get forgiveness, which forgiveness would usually mean, don't worry that we made a mistake. When we make the next thing,
Like the Ford Edsel.
we'll be fine,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. This is, we made a mistake, but our brand is so strong and our customers are so desperate to be a part of it that they will buy this thing that no one maybe wants in the same way just to show us that they're there for us in hard times as well as good times.
Yeah.
This is absolutely remarkable.
How is that? I didn't even realize any of this, that you not only have to stay in good standing, you not only have to buy lots of cars, but you have to keep them for a certain period. You've got to maintain them and you have to go to track days. That's which obviously you pay for.
Which
So
is a bit, it's
like running a subscription business.
It is a fine balance though, because they would definitely want a certain number of their cars to hit the collector market because it shows price increases. That's good news for them, right? And so it's like Hermes, they sell way too many Birkin bags now, in my view. But
they're still pretty tight on how many they sell.
there's a lot floating around, and they're on the secondary markets as well. So they want a certain number on the secondary markets, but the thing about it is you still need people to come back and buy new stuff, because if everyone buys secondhand stuff, you've got no business, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's
There's still the demand for Birkin still massively exceeds the supply. As it does. That's why Birkin and Hermes and Ferrari are clearly the two best luxury brands in the world, because they've got such great power over the customers.
Right. Well, they've got this unique characteristic, or I don't want to say unique because that would mean only one has it, but very, very, very uncommon brand characteristic that we haven't really, I don't know if I'd call this like a subset of both pricing power and reduced CAC maybe, but it's this unique thing which is people will buy things from us that they don't even really want in order to have standing to buy the stuff that they do want, because it's so unattainable and inaccessible. That is like a very, very tough game to play that almost no one pulls off.
The Acquired guys talk about the luxury strategy, the rules for marketing.
This is from a book that
that's the
they
book.
didn't write, yes.
Yeah, the luxury strategy. And it's like there's all these rules, and the rules are unbelievable, and it's so counterintuitive.
I've read this book,
Yeah,
by
you
the
read it?
way.
Okay,
Yeah.
when it talks about don't pander to your customers' wishes, like it's just make it difficult for clients to buy. That's the classic Ferrari. It's raise your prices to increase demand. And like
there's a name that is someone's rule where there's a curve of raising prices where it increases demand. I forget whose rule it is. It's very hard to pull off. That is one of the hallmarks that separate
called the Veblen effect.
Right, and that is one of the hallmarks that separates premium brands from luxury brands.
And there's so few real luxury brands. There are obviously others as well. Like there's, I think Van Cleef would be a luxury brand for diamonds, but like Van Cleef and Apparel. But this is like the way Ferrari does it. Like effectively, they hold your customers at ransom, and Hermes to an extent, but Ferrari takes it to the next level. So you want to get the car that's going to go up from 4 to 6 million. You have to do all this other stuff. And you have to buy this crappy Luce that I personally like, but you hate. So you got to give us $1 million just to stay on the list. It's
Is it $1 million
unbelievable.
that car?
Well, 550,000 euros. It's actually 1.1 million Aussie.
Wow. I mean, people will buy it here. You'll see them on the street.
I reckon I kind of like it. It's obviously Johnny Ive designed it, the famous Apple legend. He was apparently working on the Apple car, and this would be a good Apple car. In fairness,
it looks more like an Apple car than a Ferrari. Yeah, it's got it's a bit Tesla-esque in some ways. Just
very Tesla.
The curvaceous nature of
they
the top
talk about
of it.
Tesla. They talk about it being a cross between a Tesla and a Hyundai. But
right, that's a bit rough.
The reason why it looks like, and the reason why Tesla look like that is the way the battery sits in the car, and you couldn't make a Ferrari like Testarossa style EV just wouldn't work.
Well, you say that, but I'll say two things. I know it's not a car show, but I used to love cars. I used to go to every car show as a kid and take photos and whatever. I used to really love them.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, Tesla's first car, they got
Roadster.
they got
Lotus.
a Lotus, and they put an electric battery and a couple of other changes to it.
I love the Roadster.
And there's a car from MG that nobody buys. It's on sale
MG's
now.
Chinese owned right now.
MG's Chinese, and they've taken this heritage brand and they've slaughtered it, basically, and brought it down market, right? And they've milked the heritage brand for some period of time.
Smart.
But eventually people are going to catch on that MG doesn't mean what it used to
Motor
mean.
Garage.
But is that what it stands for? I didn't know that. But they've made this one electric car that's on sale in Australia. It's not expensive. I think it's sub 100K. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
It has the same problem in a sense that there was a BMW called the i8. I don't know if you were familiar with that car, that looked incredible and it looked like the most amazing supercar. It just didn't perform like a supercar. It's kind of what's it called? It's something that like writing checks that something can't cash or whatever that saying is.
Yeah.
And so it couldn't cash the check that it wrote, basically, in terms of its looks. The MG's got that problem as well, but it looks more like a Ferrari than this Ferrari looks like a Ferrari, actually. So I'm surprised that Ferrari didn't try and do something more akin to the styling that MG has, but but there you go. Like it's.
Well, have you seen there's so many great supercar EVs coming out. There's obviously BYD's Denza brand, which has just released a Range Rover competitor, which looks really cool.
Which looks like a Range Rover.
Genuinely looks like a Range Rover, and obviously super powerful. But there's so many that I think Geely's got some great product as well. There's some amazing EVs coming out of.
But even BYD's
China.
C-Line, which you see one in every 3 cars,
Yeah.
it's actually quite a good looking car.
Yeah.
I think they basically went and got the
And
Porsche Cayenne and
such
said,
great value.
copy that. you know?
Such amazing value. And obviously I've got a Tesla, which I love as well. So
I don't
think
really
EVs
love the look of Teslas, I've got to be honest
I like
with
them,
you.
but it's a personal taste, I guess.
It grows on you.
So that's why I like the
a
Luce
fungus.
as well, because it does look like a Tesla.
Yeah. Can I just say one other? Have you finished with this story?
finished, yeah.
Before we go, I want to say this one thing. So remember, I've got my IRE index.
You do.
So the insider's relative exit.
You love that
So
index.
what multiple of what insiders took off is the current share price?
Yep.
Or what multiple are they of the current
Yep.
share price? And so I don't know if you've been following the trajectory of Adore Beauty
You
recently.
more than me, but it's now almost a penny stock, right?
So when they got an offer. So there's roughly 100 million shares. That's how you should think about it. And so they got an offer. If you remember, we spoke about it a couple of
you're
years
right on
ago of $1.20.
I think it was like 1 year ago, wasn't it?
A bit more than a year, I think, $1.20. And I said, well, they should be taking this
Yeah.
offer. Yeah, they IPO'd at a 600 mil valuation,
No, forget
and this
that.
is 130 mil
Yeah.
valuation. Take the money.
Yeah,
You're
I
never
was skeptical. The only reason I thought they may have done the right thing not taking it is because the business presumably had some traction to justify them saying no.
and the offer wasn't a fully formed offer at
Yeah.
the time. I don't want to be too harsh
was
about
early
it,
days,
but
yeah.
I think they should have engaged.
Yeah.
And they might have behind the scenes. You never
Yeah,
know
we
what goes
don't
on
know.
behind the
We
scenes.
don't
But anyway, the point is I thought, that's a great offer. Take the money.
Yeah,
Today, they're at
not so good. 30?
30 cents?
30 million, yeah.
20, $25 million
Yeah.
market cap?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the problem they've got is the problem that we foresaw they were going to have. You're selling
Commoditised.
third-party
Yeah.
retail stuff against a enormous, very well-run competitor in Mecca who
Yeah.
also has exclusive brands
No,
that
Mecca-
bring people
yeah,
in.
yeah. Mecca's
You can't
just the
compete
best.
with them. The
It shows
strategy-
how good Kate was, though, in actually running that business. Obviously, Kate's been gone for like 5 years now. But she did a
Well-
great job of running that business.
So I don't want to say anything bad about Kate because I've known her for a long time and she did a great job of building a brand.
Yeah.
But to be honest, that was never a super profitable business. Quadrant got in and out with
Amazing.
incredible
Yeah.
timing.
Yeah.
They were very smart to take advantage of the COVID boom. And I take nothing away from her or James, who was the co-founder,
her husband.
or Quadrant,
Yeah.
because there was a market that wanted to buy
Yeah.
their stuff and they sold it. But it was pretty obvious to me that the trajectory wasn't going to be good. And when they opened stores, which I generally favour, I hate third-party
Yeah.
retail, but they're opening stores 3 doors away from Mecca. That is not a road to victory.
Also, they had a great CEO in Tamerlan, and she had to leave for personal reasons, genuine personal reasons.
But I don't
and
think
that
the
was
CEO's got a
loss.
problem.
Yeah.
It's not his fault.
Yeah, it's hard to blame him too
it's a
much.
very hard business to run.
Yeah, it's hard.
Now at
Super hard business.
At 25 mil, there's 2 things I want to say at 25
You should buy it.
mil.
You got 25 million in your pocket at the moment.
Well, one thing is a brand that wants a big brand that wants a
Online
loyal
presence.
customer. Well, when I say loyal, what I mean is they'll respond to offers from Adore Beauty, and there's a
It
real
feels like
brand
Mecca
there.
could buy it with like a day's profits, and
So
that'd be
Mecca
a great
wouldn't-
online brand. I know they don't do a lot of online
So
stuff.
Mecca wouldn't bother buying this, but there is an industry that used to make most of its profits
Maya.
from cosmetics, and
Yeah.
that's Maya and David Jones.
Yeah.
Now, David Jones is struggling to stay
New
alive at the
CEO,
moment.
Erica got appointed CEO yesterday. Which
Oh,
is
really?
very talk.
I
Yeah.
didn't see that. I mean, that,
Obviously from Rebel fame. I like Erica. I think
if David Jones stays solvent, that will be a dramatic achievement in my view. Like, that is a
It's
business
hard.
that has big problems.
It's really hard to understand because it's private. Who knows what's happening with interest payments and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they made good money a couple of years ago, then they've lost money the last couple of years, but it's all really hard to understand what's going on.
But if you're Maya, how would you not launch a takeover bid
for 25
for Adore
mil.
Beauty
It
now?
feels
25,
very cheap.
You know, and like, I think, aren't people tired? They want to get out of this. But what's interesting is, do you remember how much money? I say insiders. I think you got to include Quadrant as an insider in this because,
But they're the controlling owner.
yeah, and they were selling down.
Yeah.
So do you remember how much they sold down?
They sold half, didn't they?
I think they sold 250 mil
Yeah.
in total between the founders and Quadrant.
Yeah.
So
They're half their stake. Yeah.
Yeah, so their ratio is 10.
Yeah.
I think that's higher
That's
than
a
Satire,
world
isn't it?
record.
Oh, maybe not higher than Satire.
No,
Satire
it-
was a 300 mil sell down, maybe?
So Dean got 330. He put a little bit back, but Dean got 330 from Satire.
And what's the
Satire's
Satire
current
market cap?
Market cap. Oh, it's currently 80, but it will go down more. But it's currently
But
80.
that's, you know, that's
4x.
a lot lower than 10.
Yeah, but like give it time. I think Satire goes to zero and becomes.
It could go to zero, but right now, as of today, you'll be tough to beat. I think Adore
Ador's the
Beauty is
clubhouse
number
leader.
one on the IR index.
Clubhouse leaders.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty
And
remarkable.
even more remarkable, they didn't actually sell down that. They only sold down like not even half their stakes, which is makes it even better. So they actually did
Although the
go down the
founders
ship a
took
little
off
bit.
90 mil or something between them. I mean, that is a lot
I know
of
they
money.
could have got 200 if they sold it completely. So it's not as they sold everything. So they didn't like completely run for the hills. They just sold some.
No,
down.
I agree with you, and I don't cast any aspersions on the sell down
Yeah.
because they weren't
public.
tying
Yeah,
people
it's
up and shoving it down
Yeah.
their throats. I will say this, which I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I'm not going to say the name of the company. There was an investment bank that was pitching for this, a big investment bank, and then dropped out during COVID because they thought the price was too
Macquarie,
high.
wasn't it?
And I don't want to say who it was.
We
or
work with
wasn't.
Macquarie. I remember having a discussion with them.
It might have been more than one as well.
Yeah.
And this particular one said to me,
sure the Macquarie guys will
we
correct me if I'm
think
wrong."
it would be, there's reputational risk
Yeah.
in us IPOing
Yeah,
this.
100%.
Yeah. So I think that was very, very interesting.
On that note, great episode as always. We've got a big deep dive on Saturday, so make sure you listen to that. We got a good friend Scott coming on. That'll be a cracker. So thank you for listening. We'll see everybody on Saturday.
Great.